Hi, everybody. It's Blaise here, and I'm starting something new. I'm going to start doing a weekly blog, a little weekly thing called Aaron's Art Tips. And it's something that I want to put out each week, and it's just little snippets of information, little things that I've picked up over the years, whether it be for painting, or one week it might be for animation, another week it might be for character design, who knows. But they're little things that I just want to sprinkle out and share with everybody. And so this week, I want to talk about um, evenness. Evenness in compositions, evenness in photography, evenness in painting, animation, character design. Evenness is a killer. It's something you don't want in your work. And so it's one of the first things that I have students watch out for. It's one of the first things I look for. Evenness equals boring. And you want to make your compositions, your animation, your whatever, you want to make it more dynamic and be interesting. And so in order to do that, you need to find one of the first things to do is to make it uneven, to make it a place that you want to explore, places of quiet and places of detail, places of movement and animation, and places where things settle down. And when you play those together, it plays like music. And that's why I mentioned music also, because even music, when you listen to it, there's places where it picks up and places where it comes down. It's not even all the way through. Let me give you an example. I've got, here's an image that I sketched up before I did this talk. And it's just it's a quick little landscape. It's something that you might see in Wyoming somewhere, very quick little scribble. But it's done in a way that I've seen a lot of students just starting out. It's done in a way that I've seen them create their drawings, and it's one of the first things I critique them on. If you look, you'll see that there's a horizon drawn right through the middle. The trees are all kind of evenly spaced. The rocks are evenly spaced. It's all kind of even. And so therefore, it translates to kind of boring. So what I wanted to do is show you another landscape with all of the same elements, but done in a way to make it more dynamic and less even. So let me move this over, and I'm going to bring over this other composition. And here you can see I've taken all the same elements. We've got rocks, we've got trees, we've got mountains, we've got sky, but I've arranged them in a horizon line. I've arranged them in a way that I feel is much more interesting. So if you look at the mountain on the left, for example, I've created this big open space of quiet, where your eye can rest and you can kind of explore and look through. And then we've got little areas of detail, the trees in the background. But what's even more dynamic is I pulled one or two of these trees forward, and I've put the brightest part of the sky right behind them. I've pulled their value, the light and dark of them. I made them even darker and made that sky in the background light. So now you've got the area of greatest contrast right there, and it's creating an area of interest. And so now what we're creating is a composition that's not even anymore, and it's much more interesting. Your eye is much more apt to kind of explore it, and you feel a little bit more emotion when you're looking at it. Let's do another example. This time I want to do an example with, let's say, character design. So let's go ahead and open a document. Oops, I don't want to open a document. I want to create a document. So let's go, let's see, 16 inches by 9 inches. There we go. And I'm going to get rid of that white. I don't like working on white. I like working on a gray mid-tone background. That way, if I'm working in different values, I can judge them better. I'm not judging them against a white background, which is always kind of, it messes up your eye as far as judging values. Value meaning light and dark again. So I'm going to grab a brush here. Let's make a dark value, and let's create a layer and start drawing. So let's say we want to design this kid for an animated movie. And so maybe he's a chubby kid. All right, let's say that. He's a chubby kid, a little on the heavy side. And so I'm going to create this boy. I always start with my little sphere. And let's make him a little chubby. And this, this is what I would go through on other characters that I've designed at Disney or other films that I've worked on. So, you can see now I'm creating this kid. Maybe his nose is a little big. I'm going to make that brush a little smaller so I can get better detail because it's a little, feel like I'm working with a dull crayon. Okay, so let's do that. Get his eyes in there. And he's a nice guy. Put a little smile on him. All right. And so you might look at this and go, you know what? If you're drawing it yourself, and I might do the same, it's not bad. It's, he's a nice kid. He's got a nice smile, and there's definitely something there that I could animate. And let's give him some hair. There we go. Maybe got a little stumpy neck. There. So, once again, it's not so bad. And yeah, I might say, good. Well, this might be a place where you start. That's another thing I want to talk about. Don't settle so quickly. Like I said, this is just a start. So, I'd take that and go, okay, let's really push it. But everything feels pretty even. Everything's fairly evenly spaced. So I want to push that, the dynamics of it. I want to get rid of the evenness. So let's shrink that down. Put it over to the side. Okay. Now I'm going to create a new one. Go a little bigger on that brush. Now let's push what I was talking about on that landscape. So we want areas of quiet, areas of detail. You want your eye to be comfortable to be able to rest in places and kind of explore. So I'm going to push the dynamics of it. If he's a chunky kid, let's make him chunky. All right, make his head a little smaller. Give him a little bit bigger jowls. Okay. Let's pull those facial features maybe a little closer together. He's a big, big kid. But maybe his features are a little smaller. Actually, I'm going to give him we're going to make him smile. Pulled his eyes a little closer together. Even make his expression not as even. Here I'm pulling that mouth up pretty high. And look at that, see? Now this is an extreme example, obviously, but I want to use this as to illustrate the idea that, once you start thinking about, look at all this big space in here, where it's nice and open. When you start thinking about those types of things of, concentrated areas of interest against areas of quiet, no matter what you're doing, whether it's music, photography, dance, acting, all of that, they all have the best performances, the best compositions. They all have texture and their timing, texture and the way the eye moves through a composition. The only way you get that texture, the only way you get these variances is to create something that's not even. So let's, even his hair, we could give him a small haircut and pull that ear. Let's pull that ear in nice and close. Maybe there. So at least we've created something a little less even here. And you see how already it feels more interesting to me? And we pull that chin way down like so. Let's go over here and put his chin in here so you can see the example there. So, but maybe you want to, let's try balancing it out. You've got this big area down the bottom. Let's try giving him some big hair and see if that balances it a little bit. Now don't confuse, I want to make sure that you don't confuse balance with evenness. Because balance, it's, let me erase this here. There we go. Balance just, for me, it's more of an aesthetic in the sense that if something feels like it's too weighted on one side, I know I'm using all these weight terms and balance and all that, but it really is that. If it's the eye, your eye really kind of feels, your brain feels when things are out of balance. And so I'm going to try, let me see, let me grab, I'm going to move this down just a hair. And let's put, because what I want to do, I just moved his chin over there. Let's do this. Take that off, take that off. There we go. And I forgot I was on a different layer anyway, so I can just move this down. That's good. And then I'm just going to get rid of, whoops, I'm going to get rid of his chin over here because I moved it. And then I'll just draw it on here. There we go. Okay. Now, let's try giving him some hair that balances out that chin. Maybe that'll, see what that'll do. And what that does, it actually creates, I can see it already, it's creating something a little more dynamic in the sense that it's focusing even more interest on that face, because now it's even more of a concentrated area, because we've got this big area in the hair of quiet. Big area like that. And now what we've got is a little bit more balance to the composition. We can draw his body in there. Now let's shrink him down a little. Whoops, whoa, hey, I just drew it on the wrong layer. Let me do this. I'm going to combine these layers. There we go. And now I'm going to do this. All right. Now let's shrink it down just so we can see them side by side. And you'll see that, at least I believe, that our guy on the right is, he's more dynamic. He's a bit more interesting. And so that's kind of how you might apply the same kind of thinking to your character designs. Now, once again, in animation, when you have a character that's moving around, you want to make sure that there's areas where our character settles down against areas where he picks up. Even when people talk, if you watch conversations, whether they're moving their hands like I do a lot, you'll see where things will settle down and things will pick up again. Anyway, that was my little tip for the week. Watch out for evenness in your compositions. When you get through that, you'll find that the look of whatever it is that you're doing, the feel of whatever it is that you're doing, will take a leap all of a sudden. So until next week, happy painting, happy animating, happy photographing, whatever it might be. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks. Bye.